So hopefully we can figure things out. Ravens, Titans, there's a couple things we know. Derrick Henry not going to play. Ryan Tannehill, would he get a series or not? We'll see what happens there. Lamar Jackson is not playing for the Ravens. That's already been done with. So here we are. Preseason football. Some of you are excited about it. Some of you don't care. I will ask you the question throughout the show. Does preseason matter anymore? I think that's a very valid question. There's a lot of things that, I thought preseason could determine. Which wide receivers will make the roster, who's going to be the punt returner, who's going to be left guard, right tackle, who's going to be the third cornerback, all those kind of things. But what I found is just like last year, then this year, maybe the days of preseason football actually mattering for roster spots just doesn't. They do it in the practice facility. They do it at practice. Maybe they figure things out at joint practices. We're going to have joint practices with the Cardinals and the Bucs. Bucs week 2, Cardinals week 3 preseason. Maybe that's where they figure this stuff out. Maybe what you do on the field in the preseason just doesn't matter anymore. And it's not just the Titans. It's throughout the league. Some teams don't even play a starter for any starters. I think the Rams are one of them. They don't want to do it. So for me, I think preseason still matters. So we'll get to JT's comment here. I just don't know, for example, with the Titans, the 53. Do they have the 53 already figured out other than injury? Of course. We know. Someone gets hurt, knock on wood, somebody else got to step up. We know that. But as far as the actual Titans organization, the coaches, do they already have it figured out? We got to dive in and we can talk about some of that stuff. But we do have a game. And I'm really pumped for some of these guys that are going to get auditions for other teams, because if they don't make the Titans roster, there's a chance that maybe some other team sees what they put on film. Remember, I think it was NWI, Mason Kinsey, Aaron Brewer, Tommy Hudson, that class of undrafted free agents, when they came in as the rookies, they didn't get an opportunity to show what they could do in preseason games because that was during the sickness and there were no preseason games. So their only showing was last year. We know Mason did really, really well, led the team in receiving, I think, the first 2 games. Kind of fell off a little bit against the Bears in the last preseason game, but just didn't get as many looks, maybe as many opportunities. But my point I'm trying to make with that is these guys had a year removed from them. Every undrafted free agent across the entire National Football League. So them getting more opportunities to put things on tape, I think are definitely going to help them. So we'll have to see. You don't have to share 5, but you could share one of them that you like. I am most intrigued by punt returner on Friday night or Thursday night. I mean, that's what I care about the most. So when the teams go out, because why I care about that one the most, that's a puzzle. So we're trying to figure out who's going to make the team. Well, punt returner is going to solve a lot of that. So, like, for example, if Mason just destroys it, okay, if you want to use Mason as an example, I don't know. I guess we can't really use Treylon Burks because he's already going to make the team. But, if there was an opportunity there for someone to make this football team that didn't fit into the other areas, like such as wide receiver or corner, whatever, you're the starting punt returner. We've known in the league, they will use you. Like Racey McMath last year made this football team as a special teamer, not as a wide receiver. He had a very limited role during the season. And by all accounts, I mean, maybe too much of a role because he made some vital mistakes. I remember the fumble, I think it was Pittsburgh, but he just kind of looked I'm trying to think of the word here. It just didn't look like he really fit in out there as wide receiver. Now, he's been doing better this year. He's had a good camp. You hear everybody has a good camp, but I've heard Racey, they've went deep to him multiple times. It seems like they go deep to him every day. So that's a good thing for Racey. But my point is, Racey made this team just as a special teamer. So if you're a really good punt returner and you're balling out by all accounts, and if you're going to say everything matters in the preseason, then this is going to basically solidify a spot for somebody. Now, right now, with the new depth chart that came out, Kyle Phillips is the number 1 punt returner. Kinsey's number 2. And then it trickles down after that. So both these guys are going to get a shot. I can't imagine Phillips would get the Chester Rogers treatment from last year, where Chester Rogers got multiple shots, and then maybe towards the second half, then they threw it. I think they're going to maybe go every other, or maybe give Phillips the first quarter, Kinsey the second quarter, and go from there. I would not imagine Phillips will get the first 3 quarters and Kinsey will be thrown out there in garbage time. So I am interested in that. Number 2, wide receiver battle. How many receivers are they going to keep? I mean, there's arguments now that maybe the Titans only keep 5 receivers. The reason why you would keep 5, which I'd rather them keep another one, but the reason why they keep 5 is they basically say there was nobody else that's going to clear waivers, or nobody else that will not clear waivers. Everybody else they think is going to clear waivers. So why keep them all around? You know, for example, if you think Racey McMath is going to, you found someone else to fill the special teams and you feel like he'll clear waivers anyways, then are you going to give him a spot over someone else who you think might not clear waivers? That's where this all comes into. And they're keeping 3 tight ends. They're keeping 3 quarterbacks. So somebody's going to lose a spot here. Just throwing it out there. Titan South said Woodside will start. The official TY says Woodside will start as well. Shout out to Al. Sorry, Al, man. No Xfinity, but we'll see when Xfinity goes out. He says, I want to see Farland Mccreary play. I do too. And they're going to play at the same time. Titan Anderson Sports, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by and showing support after this misery of a night. Oh, man, when it rains, it pours. Love the fact I got social medias. Shout out to Sin City Titan. Could never imagine the drama over football. And Keisha, we will get into the depth chart. We're getting there. I'm just going over some of the things I'm talking about for the must-see. You guys can tell me your must-sees. Titan Fox says, Burks on punt returns are like college hazing. Our coaching staff knows better. Like, I heard something even today with Burks. Like, they want to give him more reps catching the football. That's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. Like, I'm sorry. Is going out catching punts going to make you a better wide receiver? I mean, I guess it could. It doesn't hurt, I guess. But that just seems like you're flirting with fire to hurt someone's confidence. You know what I'm saying? Catching a punt is a lot different from catching a big spiral throw right in front of you down the field. Okay? Again, punts, different. Long passes, I mean, I'm not buying it. Zach says, I want to see Willis Burks chemistry. Yes, I want to see some of that too. Steve says it's been a while since I've been this excited about a draft. By all accounts, this draft class, and that's my number 4. I want to see the rookies ball. I'm excited to see him. You know, Willis, he's a great dude off the field. He's got some really special talent. Yeah, I mean, he got to put it together. That's why he fell the 3rd round. But I'm really excited. If they can really work with him, like, that could be our future. I'm definitely pumped. You know what I mean? It's getting me back to my Mariota days when Mariota came out as a rookie, and I was just so excited to see what he had. Of course, he threw an interception, like one of the first passes he threw, screen pass, first interception of all of camp. The third one, offensive line. I mean, again, by all accounts, it looks like Aaron Brewer. Go ahead, signed, sealed, delivered, done. Right tackle, a little bit more dramatic. Apparently, Petit Frere has come on lately, and a guy I've never much heard of in camp, but lately a little bit more. That's going to be an exciting battle that could come down to the wire. 4 rookies and players coming off injury now, like Woods. Are they going to throw him out there a little bit? Caleb Farley's another guy. So it's exciting to see some of these, Weaver. It's really exciting to see some of these guys that we haven't seen in a while because of injury. So pumped up about there. 5 is going to be hard. 5 is one that I don't know if I'll be able to figure it out. I'll try. I'll go back and watch the film. I'll watch the All 22 when it comes out. But we will notice if something's different. Now, we didn't notice in defense because you guys got to remember, like, defense is vanilla across the board. They're not going to do anything with defense. But for offense, they're not really afraid to show a few things. Apparently, the more you show on film, the more the defense has to prepare for you. So you do see some tricky gadget plays every now and then. I remember the Titans fake punt against the Buffalo Bills and the old Oiler outfits at the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio the one year. So I am really intrigued to see something different, see different flow. What are we doing in our offense? Like Ryan Tannehill going back to pass, no play action, apparently has no creativity whatsoever. Titans are on the same kind of routes. There's not much spice to it. Tim Kelly going to bring some of that? Maybe I'm giving Tim Kelly too much credit, though. You know, he's coming from Houston. If he was so great, would he be a head coach somewhere? Would he be offensive coordinator somewhere? He's just kind of coming as an assistant. I think when we go back and look at Schwartz already had the name. Schwartz already been through it. You know what I'm saying? He's already been a head coach. He's already been a Super Bowl coordinator. So that's different. Tim Kelly, not so much. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. SSJ Titan, what's going on? Can't wait to see how Malik handles some of the stuff they throw at him Thursday. You know, the thing is, I don't know what they're going to throw at him. Like the defense, I'm not sure going to throw much at him at all. It's going to be very vanilla. Now, the Titans might throw some things at him, you know, see what he can handle and what kind of plays he can run and, you know, see just different packages that he feels comfortable with. You're not going to get to see the real package that he'll play during the season. He will play in the season. I don't know if anybody said that or not, but he's going to play this season. He's not going to be over Ryan Tannehill. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they'll have a few packages for him in the games. Thomas says, I think the Ravens, as much as I hate them, they win their division this season. I think a lot, Thomas, I don't know if you agree or disagree with me here, but I think a lot of it depends on the Browns. Is Watson going to get 6 games? I know the NFL says they want more. And I'm not really going to get into that too much because I feel like Watson on one end lost all of the season last year. And 6 games doesn't seem like, for the amount that has come against him, 24, whatever it is, that doesn't seem fair. It should seem like a lot worse than that. But on the flip side of it, if you count last year, him not playing, and then you count the 6 game this year, I can see where people think that's at least manageable. But the Watson thing, if he misses half the season, do the Browns have a shot? I'd say heck no. I mean, 6 games are going to be tough for the Browns. But if Watson, let's say, started from the beginning to finish, I mean, the Browns would have been a team, I think, to reckon with. Very good run team. Defense has some good pieces there. And the quarterback would be, but you don't know how good Watson is now or for missing a whole year. So that's something to, Bill, what's going on? Good to see you. Zach says he takes Farley's job. I think he's going to take Molden's job before Farley's, but it could. Draft_Brian, shout out to him. If you guys are wanting draft content, this is your guy. I know the draft is so far away, season just kicking off. But I'm telling you, go back and watch his work on some of these guys that the Titans drafted and some other teams that we're going to play. Brian does a fabulous job. The network loves him, and he is a Bears fan, so you got to deal with that. But the issue with Brian that I think you should respect him even more when he comes on and when he talks about Titans guys, he's not a Titans fan. He doesn't have any dog in the fight. You know what I mean? You can look at me and I can say, oh my gosh, look at Mason Kinsey. What a play. He's amazing. But you're like, Upload, dude, you love Mason Kinsey. Like, you're close to his family. You've had him on the show. Like, there's a connection there. But with Brian, there is no connection to the Titans. He's going to tell you what he thinks with no biased point of view. That, my friends, is when you really know if you're good or you're not. So shout out to Brian. Also, shout out to Titans Rossi. He wanted me to tell you, but we're really excited about this. So we could have saved it for another day. Well, since you guys put up with me. Titan Upload Network, Titans Rossi, Titans for Life. Both those guys they're investing, they're thinking about it, they're talking it through it. They're having a pregame show at the stadium throughout the year. I mean, so they're going to do the whole live thing, but they're doing it at the stadium in the parking lot. They're going to hook it up to the internet and they're going and they're running. Now, I think it's perfectly legal. I don't think they're a little worried if they're going to get thrown out of there. Honestly, I mean, people do crazy things at tailgates. Them talking football, I don't think they're going to get in trouble for that. So super pumped, and that would lead into the actual watch parties that we do and TA does. So that's really exciting. And then we'll do post game with Titan Upload Radio, and you guys can call in. That's always been the goal. But right now I'm going to throw my equipment through the window because it's not working today. But that's kind of the plan. Rossi wanted me to, and go follow Rossi and hit that like, or tighten up that like button for him, for his show, and go ahead and go find Rossi and hit that subscribe button. Also, Titans for Life, James as well. Here we go. Says the Mason Kinsey Show changed the title. Let's go. Well, the depth chart, he's on the depth chart. If you guys want me to skip him, I guess we can. Zach says Kyle Phillips is punt returner. And three is the biggest. Yeah, I think the offensive line, you're right, Cincinnati Titan, is definitely very key. They got to fix that. And then once they fix it, I think everything's going to be, Tannehill will be safer. You can't have Tannehill on his back, 26th in the league. I mean, that's just crazy. Roberson would be my pick. Roberson's cooled off. Now, Jonathan, I'm not throwing shade. I mean, that's why I love this channel. And I hope as more and more media outlets keep pumping out YouTube content, so shout out to them, is the depth chart. Why not? So let's get into it. So here we go. Titans offense. So what is your takeaway? Now I had Power Hour with me, and we were going to go through this together. A lot easier to do with a co-host and a partner on here. So we'll just get through this. Now, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, I mean, whatever. We'll put those guys to the side. But what you notice is Aaron Brewer locked in there, changed his number, by the way. I almost called him Jayon Brown. So you got Aaron Brewer. He's small. He's quick, though. So when he went up against Aaron Donald last year in the Rams, he actually held his own. We were really worried about Aaron. But Aaron's done a pretty good job coming in. He can play multiple spots. He can play center. He can play guard. I think he can even play a little tackle, believe it or not. I know it's hard to fathom, but I think he played a little bit of it in college. But he is a smaller guy. So the Titans, I think, just love the versatility of him. And it's okay to have a quick guy in there. I mean, we had the Warmack from Alabama that came in. We thought he was going to be really, really good, and he stunk. So I think it just doesn't always matter. Now, you can get bull rush and all that stuff, but for the most part, he's been able to hold his own. So shout out to Aaron. But it looks like he's going to get that shot at left guard. Ben Jones solidifies that offensive line. Taylor Lewan, we're hoping for a big season from him, a healthy season. Right guard, Nate Davis. Apparently, the sickness got him last year, and I believe it. I told you, Nate Davis making the Pro Bowl, I was very optimistic of that, and it didn't happen. It fell flat on my face. But this year, it's a whole nother year. He's supposedly healthy, guys, so I'm excited about him. He was playing really good before last year. And then Dylan Radins. So you got Radins, and then you got Petit Frere. Those two going back and forth. It could go either way. It could go either way. If you know, shout it in the chat. But I think that thing can go either way. Is there a reason why Radins is above? Yes. I think this is a situation where Radins has been through the mill. It's like a positive reinforcement. So like, hey, here's your spot, dude. Don't lose it. We're trusting you, but I don't know what the Titans really think. And that's why I think this job, preseason-wise, is still up in the air. As far as your wide receivers go, Robert Woods, we know that. Now, Nick Westbrook-Akina, there are a lot of people upset by this. You can't have it both ways. You can't look me in the eye and say, oh my goodness, Kyle Phillips is ahead of Mason Kinsey in the punt return. He's going to be amazing. That's just phenomenal. And then tell me on the other end, oh my gosh, Nick Westbrook-Akina, why is he where he's at? He's just going to get replaced. He'll get replaced by Treylon Burks at some point. Okay, so you're telling me in one position it's fine because the guy that you supposedly love or the guy that you're most fascinated with has a spot, but then on the other end, you're going to downgrade Nick Westbrook-Akina because you just don't believe in him and you think Treylon Burks just going to come in there. I mean, like I said, I don't think you can have it both ways. Now, Nick Westbrook-Akina, if you believe Amani Hooker, said the two guys giving them the most fits, three guys, but the two I'm going to list for receiver-wise were obviously NWI, Nick Westbrook-Akina, and Mason Kinsey. So from a player standpoint, he's telling you those two are really doing well in camp. From the media point of view, we're not getting that. But the media is telling you about Kyle Phillips, and apparently Kyle Phillips is now taking first-team reps, and he's getting a lot of attention from Ryan Tannehill. So that's got to be a really good thing for Kyle Phillips. But as you go through the list, I mean, the Titans are probably only going to keep 6 wide receivers. So if you look at it, Nick Westbrook-Akina 2, Robert Woods 1, Kyle Phillips, Treylon Burks 3-4, and then it basically comes down to Racey McMath and Racey McMath and Dez Fitzpatrick. So there's 5-6. Yes, 5-6. So then Mason Kinsey and Cody Hollister are basically tied for the 7th spot based on this list. Now, Josh Malone, the guy that we heard nothing but good things about, is even lower on the. I mean, that's got to be a concern for guys that, you guys are telling me that, like, you really like Roberson and you really like Malone. They're pretty far back in the field there, So that can't be a good thing for them. Now, I've heard a lot of on the Julius Chestnut. He's going to get a lot of attention. But again, I'm not seeing it here on my depth chart as far. So what other things intrigue you about the depth chart? Charles says Kyle Phillips is going to have a great year. He's a great route technician, a.k.a. route god. Now, I mean, Phillips, 40 time, not very good, and I think that's probably why it fell. But all I hear at camp is how quick he is. So, Charles, you're right. There's a lot of truth to your statement with the route technician, but if he's adding that element of not breakaway speed, but speed off the line of scrimmage, that's what you're really. Do you want Kyle Phillips just to go deep all the time like Racey McMath? Heck no. You want Kyle Phillips on a 3rd and 3 to be able to get open and get the ball like Beasley. That's what you want. And I wasn't really sure of that coming out of UCLA. And by all accounts, what I'm seeing is from just the video feeds, he does look quick coming off the line of scrimmage. I could definitely see him getting by defenders. I know size and some of those other things because he's actually even smaller than Mason, but he's been holding his own. So shout out to Kyle. I mean, don't get me wrong. We can have favorites. I mean, my favorite was Corey Davis, and I still love Corey. Outside of Kinsey on the Titans, I think Corey Davis, I still believe in him. I'm still cheering for him, and I still love him. Now, some of you would have been the same about A.J. Brown, but A.J. Brown kind of spoiled that for you. So now you kind of just said, forget A.J. Brown. And that's understandable. I've kind of forgot about him myself. But I will tell you, Corey Davis, great person off the field. I just still believe this. I just felt like the Titans never really got him involved. Some of it's on Corey, some of it's on the coaching staff. But he was my guy. Did I root against A.J. Brown being the number 1 when he was drafted from Ole Miss? Heck no. So beat me a little bit. Don't get on me because I'm excited about a player. I'm excited about a lot of these guys. I've told you in the limited time that I've been here over the last couple months that if you're playing fantasy football, you'd be a fool not to draft Austin Hooper in your draft. Now, I wouldn't go and draft him in the first round, but he's one you can hold in your back pocket. And when all these guys are flipping out about tight ends, you're going to be able to pull him out because now he's not going to get a lot of attention. He's going to have an amazing year this year. Mark that down. Upload says Austin Hooper going to have an amazing year. Believe me on that one. He is. All right, so let's get to the defense. Get this thing kind of going. I can't wait to do the towel thing. I think that'll be fun. Don't forget to hit that like button. So let's get to the towel thing eventually. All right, here we go. So defense. Now defense, linebacker's an issue. Okay. If you can't play Cunningham on 3rd down, as No Flags Film pointed out on the radio this week, shout out to No Flags Film, taking his talents to A to Z Sports. All I'm going to say about that one, because you guys know my history with A to Z Sports, they did something right. They picked a winner. James Foster has been on the show. I'm just going to praise him, but I'm going to tell you, it's all true. The guy is a workhorse. The guy just loves to break down film. It's what he does for fun. He does it all the time. He would tell me about how he would literally watch each of these guys on the Titans, but he's not watching them one play by one play, like watching all of them at the same. He goes in and watches one game of one player. We'll go back, watch the same game with another player. I mean, he does phenomenal content. So shout out to him. And I think it's just the beginning for him. I think A to Z is a nice place for him right now, but I think eventually it's going to even grow, and he probably will go national with NFL film at some point. I mean, that's the trajectory that he's going on. So shout out again to James. No Flags Film. He changed his name. I think it's A to Z Film Room. If you haven't subscribed to him, trust me, I would not send all of you to A to Z Sports. You know my history. But with James, he's a class act, and they picked a real winner. So shout out to him. But James had an amazing conversation on the radio this week when they were introducing him, and said like Zach Cunningham literally only played like 1/3 down for a passing situation, just one time. So the Titans know his limitations in the passing department. He's a run stuffer. He's one of the best in the league. He's not very good in the pass department, which we know how Rashaan Evans was. But my point is, David Long's really, really good. But now that, we lost, for the most part, Rice or whatever from Georgia, there's a little bit of a hole in linebacker. Again, Jayon Brown, gone. Evans, for how many we got on him, gone. So, linebackers, I'm interested in preseason if someone else is going to step up. Now, immediately I'm drawing to Farley, getting that spot, that opposite spot along with Christian Fulton. And then Roger Mccreary supposedly had a phenomenal camp. Now, I've heard Shakir Brown has had a good camp, but according to this roster, it's not great where he's placed. But we'll see how it all kind of works itself out. You'd figure if he would have bounced Chris Jackson out of there, but we'll see what happens with that. DBS 2000s, I'm worried about how we will pay Simmons. I am too, but just enjoy the season. Because this is what this could be it. And I don't mean to be like a downer on this situation. This could be it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of pieces to this team. The defense is where it should be. The offense still has to turn it around. But I'm telling you, if Tannehill doesn't play well this year, he's gone. Derrick, he's got a contract situation himself. There was talk this year he had a contract situation. Derrick's a great guy. Can he get back from that injury? Looks quick right now. We'll get to see how it works out. But I'm just saying, if Treylon Burks doesn't work out like we think he's going to, Robert Woods can't get past the ACL. Looks good now. My point is, this is it. This is our year. Next year could be our year. The year after could be our year. But live in the moment. We are built for this. This is it. That's the mindset. Go out, all out, and win the dang Super Bowl. Don't tell me you're going to do it in 2 years. Don't tell me you're doing it next year. We're not Cub fans. Even the Cubs ended up winning the World Series in like 2016 again. So just keep it going. Stay positive, but don't worry about all those things that are going to fall. At the end of the year, yes, we all worry about them. All right. Thomas says, I feel like we're really going to miss Krushank. I do too. For how much he has covered tight ends and was very good. Now, he did have an injury history, and the Bears, shout out to him, going to the Bears. But some people will say, well, he's only good because he had long arms. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I feel like there's more to it than just long arms, but according to them, that's all it was. All right, and then finally, the special teams. Again, special teams is one of those things where it's very, very important about making the football team. So obviously we're going to spend some time on it, but Randy Bullock, phenomenal, just phenomenal. Now there is some whispers going on. So I just want you guys all not to be shocked here. I'll save it. But it involves the punter. And then Kyle Phillips has catapulted himself above Roberson and above Mason Kinsey. Now, I would expect all three of those guys to get some chances this week. I do not anticipate, even though he's been back there all the last couple weeks or week and a half, whatever it was, Treylon Burks, I do not imagine he's going to get an opportunity to do that. I mean, what a stupid idea that would be if something happened where someone took a cheap shot at his legs and then now you lost him for the season because you had him out there as a third punt returner. No way they're going to do that. And if they do, that's coaching malpractice. I'm not going to say they should be gone, but they needed some counseling because you just don't do that. And then kickoff returner, Hilliard as the number one. Cannon, which a lot of people don't think is going to make the team. Mason Kinsey sitting there at 3. I mean, I didn't even hear much about him kick returning this offseason, but apparently he's number 3 on the roster, so maybe he gets an option there. Power Hour says Hilliard at kick returner is a solid roster move. And with him playing running back, getting his share, being the third running back or whatever he'll be this year, yes, having him as a starting kick returner, if he does well, that's perfect. That's what you want. I don't think you want one of your starting wide receivers back there, but some people will. Yeah. Stanley, shout out to Stanley, says, do you think you will bring back Correa back? I don't personally. Now I like Correa and I've always shared this. Correa is a guy who does his job. Correa's not worried about all these highlight sacks and worried about numbers. If you go back and I've said this 1,000 times, you're probably sick of me. If you go back and watch a playoff game versus Kansas City at Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game, I think it's the Kansas City's first possession. Correa gets a sack. Well, how did he get the sack? Because he stayed home. When you got edge rushers that understand where they're supposed to be on the field and they just don't go flying. Like Landry does this all the time and it kind of drives me nuts. He'll go flying in there and he goes right past the quarterback and he just continues running off the field. I don't know. Correa didn't do a lot of that. Correa actually held his ground. So when Mahomes rolled out, Correa was right there and brought him down. You got to go watch that play. I'm telling you, I'll have to go back. Maybe I can share it with you. But that's why I love Correa. I just don't see them bringing him back. There's just something about moving on during your year when things get bad. And I was in his corner. But when he wanted to get traded and then all that stuff happened, I think he got traded to the Ravens and it didn't work out there either. I think that's kind of when, yeah. All right, so that's the depth chart. So let's get into the fun stuff, the towel. So here's how it's going to work. We are going to discuss 5 different positions, and I'm going to ask you, and I need you guys to play along. I had Power Hour. If Power Hour is still with us, Power Hour, would you please play along? Because I was actually going to ask you these questions. So if you guys remember the Rocky IV movie, somebody, is it Creed? Creed's just getting annihilated. I think this is where we're at. Creed's getting annihilated by the Russian dude. And the trainer's on the sides and throwing the towel. Now, he says a cuss word I'm not going to say. So I'll say dang. But like throwing the dang towel. Like he's seen enough. And ultimately, I don't want to spoil the movie for you in Rocky IV, but Apollo Creed doesn't actually even make it out of the stadium. He passes away, and Drago kills him. So when you look at throwing the towel, I'm asking you, have you seen enough to throw in the towel and this one's over? Like, there's no more debate. We don't need the Ravens game. We don't need the Bucs joint practice. We don't need the Cardinals joint practice, and we don't need either one of those preseason games. You've seen enough. It's done. It's over. Let's move on. Let's pencil this guy in. That is the show. Throw in the dang towel. Let's go. I'm pumped up. So our first 2 contestants, Brett Kern and Ryan Stonehouse. Now, Rossi at the camp Sunday, this guy on my right from Colorado State kicks bombs all the time. It's like 75 yards. Okay. I mean, so my question, have you seen enough where Kern, it's over? You're giving the nod to Kern. We're moving on. That's what I'm saying. If you agree, say yes, it's done. If you say no, I want to see more. Stonehouse is like kicking 75-yard bombs. And it's like, wow, this guy's got an amazing leg. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to kickers, you think you have it all figured out. But when someone great comes along and they're young, the Titans already restructured Kern. Kern was hurt every so often. Kern, unfortunately, was on the sickness list, but he's had a few injuries here or there. He's missed some time. But Kern is also a 3-time Pro Bowler, I think. He's been with this team since 2009, and he's really took out Brady with that kick late in the game, in the playoff game. That put Brady on the 1 yard line. That is his specialty. So on one end, you got a guy who's young, who doesn't have experience in the NFL, but he has a monster leg. And then on the left, you have Kern, who's done it before. He's the veteran, right? He may be going down, and I'm going to get to this in a minute. He may be going down and on his way out. This could be Kern's last year, by the way. But Kern does one thing a lot of punters can't do. Pins you deep. Very consistent. Very consistent when he punts. I mean, there are games where we'll go and be like, the Titans are terrible, but Kern's amazing. Kern got MVP again of the game, but the Titans were off. You know, Kern is just, he very rarely doesn't show up. He very rarely makes a mistake. He, for the longest time in Madden, was disrespected. I mean, he was low, mid to lower end of the totem pole when we're talking about our hierarchy of kickers. He should have been in the top 5. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's some good kickers in the league, but Kern's always consistent. So are you throwing in the towel, or is this done? I'm throwing in the towel. I'm throwing it in. It's over. And the reason why it's over, you got too much to lose. You can't, I understand. You got this young dude, and he's very enticed. I mean, you're like, oh my gosh, this could be the next big thing. Here's the thing. Kern, you know what you're getting from Kern. You don't know what you're getting from Stonehouse, okay? He could be a fart in the wind. Okay, I should say toot in the wind, right? Family-friendly channel. He could be a toot in the wind, which means you let Kern go. He gets claimed by someone. Buccaneers. Your Stonehouse is your guy. Week 1, hamstring. Remember Sam Ficken? We were ready to sell the farm for Sam Ficken from the freaking Jets. He didn't even play a game. He didn't play one game. And we were right back in the kicker situation. Luckily, Randy Bullock worked out for us. You can't. This team's ready to win now. You can't be taking these. I mean, I know they're enticing and you want to run with them, but you can't take these chances. And so what? He kicks the ball 75 yards. How many times are you going to need a 75-yard kick? Hear me out. A lot of times, the 75-yard kick will be right into the end zone, and then the other team gets it right at the 20. Kern, at least, will get you inside the 15, inside the 10, and a lot of times inside the 5. So I'm going with Kern. I'm rolling with him for the season. This could be it for Kern. I would imagine it probably is. This is probably Kern's last go-around. I'm sticking with my veteran here. I like the Stonehouse dude. He's very intriguing, and he'd probably be a all-pro punter, and you'll come back and you'll be like, you're an idiot. But there's too much risk involved. We know what happens when Kern got hurt and we just brought in these random punter dudes. Remember the Colts game? Like, single-handedly lost us the game. I'm not willing to rest my season with Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and this amazing defense to just blow it on a punter who could be great, but could be awful at the same time. I'm ready to move on. How are you guys thinking? Paulo's fatal flaw was pride. MB says over the 75-yard kick or the 75-yard out kicks the coverage and it's returned for a TV. Good point. MB, I didn't even think about that one. Power Hour says Stonehouse is smacking Kern in the rear end with the towel. Battle's far from over, but Kearns shouldn't feel comfortable. Power Hour, I like your stance, but I'm ready to move on. Just give Kern. I mean, it's fun, but I'm ready to roll with Kern because I don't want to even be intrigued by this guy to my right to even think I'm thinking through it and thinking, oh my goodness, I'm really going to do this and then go back. Fernando says, glad to be from the state this guy plays for. My dream is to play for Colorado State. I want to be their QB. Shout out to Fernando. And if it works out, you come on the show and you tell me you're signing with Colorado State or Colorado, the Buffaloes. And then when you make it to the NFL, you know, you're going to be a fill-in guest. You'll be in here all the time. So shout out to you. Let's see. We got OHS Or Salinto. If Stonehouse can learn from Kern this year, I'm excited. Yeah, maybe he can find a way to get him on your practice squad. I'd be okay with that. And then maybe he's the guy next year. JT, keep both and throw Stonehouse to the protected practice squad. I like that. If you think he's all world, be creative, find a way. At this point, we'll definitely keep Kern, but you need to keep Stonehouse in some capacity. So if preseason, unfortunately, it's going to be out of the bag if we punt. So if we don't punt or use Stonehouse in the preseason, which I guess could happen, but somebody's got to punt, then maybe, you could find a way to keep him. So that's our number one. I'm going throw in the towel. So I think we're kind of mixed on that, but that's okay. Our second one is right tackle. Radens gets the nod early on the depth chart, but I've heard Nicholas Petit-Frere is coming on strong. Now, there's really not much difference. I know a lot of people, there's really not. One's a third-round pick. The other one's a second-round pick. I would even argue that the Nicholas guy, Petit-Frere, is coming from a highly more reputable Ohio State University compared to Radens coming from North Dakota State. As far as facing talent, I would actually give the nod to Petit-Frere where he comes. I mean, we do the same thing when we compare Kyle Phillips to Mason Kinsey. We got to probably use the same philosophy then in this regard. But Radens is a guy that there was a lot of hope that he would take over. Remember, if Isaiah Wilson didn't screw up, he would be the right tackle, and we would have another argument across the board, and we would be even better than what we are now. But unfortunately, that pick was a wasted pick. Didn't even make it other than the Colts game, I think, where he fell over on the extra point, believe it or not. So where we're at right now with this situation, well, we're back at it. I shouldn't say we wasted 2 picks, but now actually Wilson's turned into 3 picks. Picked Wilson, that didn't work out. Picked Radens, it didn't work out right away. And then we went right back to the well this year to pick Petit-Frere. So I'm going to say not throw in the towel. This thing will go down to the wire. Now, what ultimately probably is going to happen here is it's going to be whoever's standing last. I mean, last man standing match. So for you wrestling folk in the house, shout out to you. SummerSlam at Nissan Stadium, according to Darren, was a lot of fun. I wish Roman Reigns would have lost, but whatever. But I think this is a last man standing. Now, there is an outside chance that maybe like the Jamarco Jones or someone, which is really weird. You haven't heard much from him. Remember, this is a guy we got from Seattle to be our Dennis Kelly. We didn't want to take Dennis Kelly, so we went to the Colts. So we took Jamarco Jones. Last year, we took Kendall Lamb. So, again, I think last man standing when it comes to these two could be an outside chance someone else. Maybe they go out. I know they picked up someone who used to play for the Browns the other day. Maybe he gets in the fold. But as of right now, I think we all should hope Radens takes it. And then we can have Petit-Frere being a rookie, still learning, because we know it takes a while, especially offensive line. We can use him as more of the swing tackle. As far as Radens goes, if he flops out of here, are you going to try to go to left guard over Brewer? I don't think they're going to do that anymore. I think they're focusing on right. He becomes and then you have questions. It's his second year in the league, and he's got a rookie from Ohio State that outdid him. I would rather just go with Radens, but again, I think it's last man standing. Play action is O-line's best friend. CJ says Kelly went to the Oh, that was last year. This year he went to the Colts. JT Jamarco Jones fought Taylor Lewan and runs with the second string team. Radens is officially the starter. NPF maybe Lewan's potential replacement. Oiler Titan says I had Nicholas Petit-Frere as a poor man's Laramie Tunsil. Would take over for Lewan and left tackle in 2 years. Jamarco Jones, okay, I already read that one. Watch out, Radens can contain Bosa this time. Out of the crib customs in the house. Our line is suspect. It is a question mark. I would agree with you. Mike says Dylan not being destroyed by Bosa last season enough. Now, Bosa's argument to that, Mike, was he had a tight end chipping the whole time. So, I mean, I'd have to go back and rewatch that, but I thought Radens actually played pretty well. I know he gave up a couple sacks in that game, But against Bosa and that front line from the 49ers who almost made the Super Bowl, I would take that. And it was Radunz' first time. And remember, when Radunz took over, a lot of us didn't give him any chance. I mean, we thought Quessenberry's bad, but we didn't hear many good things from Radunz. It kind of ruined him, I thought, by making him learn all these different positions. We needed to keep Kelly. And I don't know what happened, why they don't want to bring him back. I mean, Lawan loves him. I mean, he was a great piece for the team. I would imagine Ben Jones loves him. He seemed to get along with the other guys on the team. I mean, Roger Saffold, I know he's on the Bills now. Nate Davis would have been on the team as well when Kelly was here. I mean, but I don't understand. I don't understand it. I never will to this day. All right. DBS 2000, what if Phillips is the kick returner and takes it to the house in week 1? Hey, let's go. I'll be yelling on the watch, bro. Let's go, Phillips, right? Just make sure he spells the name right. Not you, but like there's a lot of people that keep putting the 2 L's in there. It's 1 L. Come on. All right, let's move on. Next one. So I'm not throwing in the towel. I think this one can go a long way. All right, so this one is going to be tough for me personally because you guys know how, let's say, invested I am in number 12. But when Kyle Phillips was drafted in the 5th round, I think most of us thought, sorry, I'm going to get a little water break here before I actually tackle this one. So again, shout out to you guys. 64 likes on a rough night. I mean, I'm having fun. I hope you guys are having fun talking Titans football late at night, 10:51. I'm going on a couple hours of sleep to begin with, but Power Hour should be with us. Shout out to Power Hour. Make sure you go subscribe to him. He's got a great TikTok going on. He's got Twitter, Power Hour 615. I had a show tonight. So, you know, go follow him. He's a great guy. Should have been on the channel, but my audio screwed up for him, so I do apologize. So Kyle Phillips, when he was drafted from UCLA, I said, oh, no. And I didn't mean that as a bad way for the Titans. I mean, it makes sense. Like, you know, I mean, you're trying to find a missing piece, a wide receiver. We took Treylon Burks. We lost A.J. Brown. So bring in a guy who can punt, return, and do slot. And I've went over this before with you. I told you, I forget the show. It came out a month ago. You can go back and watch it. But I told you about some players where the stock was the good and the bad, right? And Mason, believe it or not, made the bad because of the fact that there were some things outside of his control. But when Kyle Phillips was drafted to the Titans, it made Mason's job a whole lot harder. And I think you would all agree with that. Some of you would say he never had a chance even if Phillips wasn't on the team. I don't buy that at all. I think the spot, when preseason broke out, training camp, I should say, Kinsey was running with the ones. So since Thursday, unfortunately, though, it seems to be now Kyle Phillips has taken that spot, and now on the depth chart, that definitely shows that. But I thought Mason really had an uphill battle once Phillips was picked. So am I throwing in the towel? I mean, I think it's clear that the Titans are going to give Kyle Phillips every benefit of the doubt. He's drafted. He's young. I mean, they're both young. Kinsey being in his 3rd year in the league. But, I mean, when you invest draft capital in guys, it's very hard to just ignore the fact and just kind of throw them to the wolves, and someone else probably will claim them. Now, last year, Dez Fitzpatrick was drafted in the 4th round, I want to say, from Louisville, and they did release him, remember? And nobody claimed him because he was not very good last season, and he wasn't prepared. He didn't seem to show much heart, and I would never question a guy's heart. But by all accounts, Dez Fitzpatrick, although I'm not going to agree with a lot of you that say he's a shoe to make this team, but he has done enough where he's still around. Like, if he didn't learn from his mistakes last year, he'd be gone already. So he's still on the roster. There's still a fighting chance for Dez Fitzpatrick. But these two guys, Kinsey and Phillips, are very close. Like, they mirror each other. You know, Mason is a team first guy, and by all accounts, Kyle Phillips is the same way. I know that both these guys, it's like iron sharpening iron. I mean, they're trying to make each other better. I don't see like Phillips thinking like he's the golden child in this situation where he's going to get the favoritism over Kinsey. But on the flip side of it is both of them are making plays in camp. You can't deny that. So it comes down to punt return. That's why I'm not throwing in the towel for Mason. Now, I would argue Mason's strong point is more slot, and he can even play outside. He was able to go deep in the training camp videos, just like Phillips was. But I do think his strong point is receiver, whereas Kyle Phillips, and when I'm comparing the two, okay, maybe you say it's a wash at receiver. I do think Phillips is the better kick returner, only because of what I saw him do at UCLA. Okay? That's the only reason. I'm giving Phillips the benefit of the doubt here. But if Kinsey can somehow show that he can dominate the punt return game, then I think it's going to be a situation where they're going to have to think about keeping both guys. I've already given you this. They've kept Racey McMath last year when they had no intent of playing him a wide receiver. He was going to be an emergency wide receiver. They kept him for special teams. So you can't have that argument and say, well, Mason can't make it because he can't play, he only going to play special teams. But when you're telling me the other half that, you got to be able to play special teams to be the wide receiver. See what I'm saying here? So I'm not willing to throw the towel in just yet. But honestly, between me and you, I can see why you could come to me and say, it's done. It's over. Kinsey had the shot right out of the gate, and once Phillips overtook him, you call the race. Now, I don't like that because that's why me and election nights don't work out well, because for whatever reason, you're watching the election results come in. Maybe it's just me, but it's like you see the person you're hoping will win the election, and they're winning. The guy or girl that you want to win the election is winning. And then all of a sudden, the other person catapults them. And you're thinking, oh, well, there's still 75%, 75% of the votes out. So, or been counted, there's 25% left. Surely, you're only by 1,700 votes. And then it turns into 3,000 votes. And then it turns into 4 and 5. And it's just like you can't catch up. Is that this situation? So, JT says you just gave me PTSD. Who blocks better? That's a good one. Now, I would give the edge to Kinsey. Kinsey's he's feisty. If you've seen him play, go back and watch preseason games, or even go watch the 3 snaps he got against the Chiefs on offense. He was mixing it up on when the Titans were up 27-3. He was going out and hitting dudes. This guy's a warrior, and I know Phillips. I don't really know him as much as I know Mason. But I do know Mason has more weight on him. I know Mason's taller, and I just feel like Mason has that physical to him where Kyle Phillips could. I'm not going to speak against that because I don't know, but I'm just telling you, Kyle Phillips right now has momentum in camp. And the reason he has momentum is because I would think Ryan Tannehill's been going to him so much, that's got to mean something. You know what I'm saying? That's just Rossi was at the camp on Sunday, and when Mason was running with some of the ones, Tannehill really didn't go to him that much. So I do feel like Tannehill's building something with Phillips, and that will matter in the end. But I'm still not ready to throw the towel in. No way, no how. Let's see what happens in preseason and the preseason games. Even though I don't think they matter that much, I do think punt returner will matter. And then ultimately, knock on wood, I hope, like I said in the other one, I said last man standing. I don't want this position to be that. I don't want Mason to make this team only because something happens to Phillips. I don't want Phillips to make the team only because something happens to Kinsey. And I really don't want that with my right tackle. But when you're talking about the physicality on the line of scrimmage and those guys throwing their bodies into one another and bodies rolling across and taking legs out all the time, those offensive linemen are in the war zone. They are in the trenches, and injuries are bound to happen to them over time. But I don't want to see that happen with my slot wide receivers, because I feel like if Todd Downing can figure out how to use these guys like he wasn't able to figure out how to use Chester Rogers, who just signed with the Texans, by the way, then I think this is going to be. So I'm not throwing in the towel. A couple more, and then we'll run. So Brewer, this one I'm throwing in the towel. It's done. It's over. And it's only because the Titans said it's over. And they don't have to say it. Their intentions already mean it. They love him. They I think they adore him. They pump him up in the media. I mean, the Titans, this is their guy. They're going to roll out with Brewer. And I'm okay with that, believe it or not, because I actually like Aaron Brewer. Jamarco Jones, I haven't heard much about him at all. But I think he's going to be a filler. I mean, he could throw him at right tackle. He can play guard. He can play a variety of spots. But I do think Aaron Brewer, done, over, done. Okay? Timmy says the Mason Kinsey show has started, folks. Yes, it has. You're the third or fourth or fifth or 20th person to say that today. So shout out to you. I guess what we can do, in all fun, is next time when I compare Mason Kinsey to Kyle Phillips, I'll just leave Mason Kinsey out of it and just compare Kyle Phillips to himself. I mean, some of you say it's like the mirror identical anyways. So next time, I guess I won't even mention Mason that he's in a camp battle. I'll just say that Phillips, and we'll just pick some random dude out of the crowd, and then we'll go from there. But I'm just kidding you. I'm not really mad. All right, but I would go with Aaron Brewer here. I'm throwing in the towel. This one's over. It's done. I don't need to pay any more attention to it. It's over. Last one. This one's intriguing. This one might make you mad because there are a lot of you that love Elijah Molden. Okay? Elijah Molden was kind of like this last year. There were some really good moments and there were some not so good. But by all accounts, Elijah Molden was going to be your third corner. That's why I got so furious when they picked Roger McCreary out of Auburn in the second round. Very high second round pick, by the way. Not late, really, really high. So what's happened since camp? Well, Elijah Molden doesn't have anything he can really do about it because he's hurt. Roger McCreary's been showing out. He's been doing against everybody. So now the Burks thing, I mean, Burks is physical. Burks throwing him to the ground, like that's not going to happen during the regular season. They're going to call a flag on that. They'll call it in the preseason, but they will call it in the playoffs. They'll call it in the regular season. You can't just grab a guy and throw him down and run past. I mean, that's just not realistic. And that's happened a couple times at camp that I've seen, and people are getting all excited about the video. Oh my God, look at what Burks did. But no, McCreary's holding his own. By all accounts, McCreary probably won't give up the starting spot. That's what I'm hearing. It's what a lot of people that break down the Titans defense say and think. Elijah Molden, unfortunately, his injuries happen, and he's never going to be able to get that spot back where you're going to have to think about maybe playing Elijah Molden in a different spot. Now, I'm not going to go that far and say you're going to play him more at safety now. But I've heard this from you, from some of you in the chat, from some of you in the house or leaving comments, that Roger McCreary, this is just the stepping stone. He's got eyes at number 2. So let's get into some of his faults, okay? 1, he's not a great run defender. Does that matter? I think it matters a little bit, okay? I think it matters a little bit. He's also a guy that doesn't have a lot of blitz experience. Now, could he learn? Sure. I think Power Hour and myself, throw us on that line and just let us rush. You know, that's the fun part. Well, we may, I don't know, who knows. But the point is, Power Hour and myself, probably not the people you would think of as being pass rushers and playing in the secondary. But we would try, right? I know Michael would. We would try to hold our own. But Elijah Molden's very good at that, very crafty, finds ways to get him. You guys all remember the preseason game against the Bucs. I mean, that was amazing. You see sparks from him during the season. He can pass the rush. Did it at Washington, doing it here in Tennessee. Roger McCreary, not the same. So when that would be the only argument that maybe Elijah Molden would get his spot back. But I think they're going to be creative with it. And if it's not going to be McCreary, they'll find someone else. And then on the flip side of it, Caleb Farley, yes, it's nice. I've got some information on Caleb Farley that I'm not going to share necessarily, but I will say that I think Caleb Farley is progressing. It's definitely arrows going up, but I think McCreary right now, I think they're giving Caleb the benefit of the doubt where he's at on the depth chart. But because I really do think, and what you see at camp when we hear about Mccreary's been the real deal. And I'll eat crow on that one, because remember when he was drafted, I thought it was a terrible pick. I'm like, why are we going secondary here? We got so many other holes. I'm thinking tight end, although I thought that was too high to take a tight end. Offensive line. Like, we're trying to figure out who our right and left guard are. Right tackle, left guard are. You could have found a starter there early in the second round. No, we go with possibly a fourth corner. If it all works out and how it was going to work out with Molden and Farley. So I'm not ready to throw in the towel here, but I'm real close. And I'm going to give the nod to Roger Mccreary. He's a rookie from Auburn, but he held his own there. He's went up against some good talent. And I think this is a perfect J-Rob find. And I think this is going to definitely solidify the cornerback position. I think you still need a guy like Elijah Molden, but I do think when the season starts, you'll have Farley out there, you'll have Mccreary out there, and of course you're going to have Christian Fulton. Titan Fox says he's going to do the extra mile and say Mccreary's going to be starting over Farley. Mccreary has, Powerhouse says, a little Finnegan in him, scrappy and determined. I like that. Believe me, Upload, everybody questioned that pick. Hey, thank you. I mean, I'm glad it seems to work out. And I know there were some that were actually excited about him. But again, the sad truth of the matter is, everybody, like, it could still be a terrible pick. And the reason why I say that is, if you can't fix your offensive line and you got 4 amazing corners, we'll count Molden. I'll just call Molden and Farley right now. But you see where I'm going with that? Like, you're not going to be successful because Ryan Tannehill is going to be on his back the entire game and probably turning the football over. And then your defense is going to be giving up field goals, and you're going to lose games like 9-6, like the Jaguars beat the Bills last year. It's the truth. So Mccreary looks like it's a great pick. But on the flip side, it's just like, if you don't fix that offensive line situation, and then you go back and you're like, oh my gosh, you had 5 linemen that were decently you could have picked that would have solidified your offensive line. That's where I'm just unsure of at this point. But now that we can't go back in the draft, Mccreary is a guy I'm very intrigued with. And J-Rob knows what he's doing. I'm not going to question him, but I will say the offensive line still has a lot of holes in it. Receiver looks to be a little bit better, but I do think it's a bad thing when people will say, well, you're going to keep 5 wide receivers because the rest of your receivers nobody will want. I keep hearing that. Well, that doesn't mean that your receivers are that great then. I mean, you got Robert Woods and you got, like I said, but Robert Woods will put him off to the side. Now let's look at everybody else. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is probably your most veteran wide receiver you got out of the bunch, not counting Cody Hollister. So I think wide receiver could become an issue down the line if guys that we think are doing really, really good at camp. Remember, everybody's doing good at camp, it seems like. Everybody's doing good at camp. This guy's great. This guy's great. I go back to Malone. We heard all offseason how great he was doing. He's like one of the bottom feeders on the depth chart right now. So that's why I love preseason. Like, I know it doesn't matter as much as it used to back in the day, but I'm still so intrigued to see some of those guys out there and actually doing it on the field. Now, you'll hear this. Oh, well, this guy had an amazing game, but he went up against the 3rd string corner. Okay, but still, it's exciting to see these guys do well. All right, so that is the show. I am not throwing in the towel for that one. The only towels I'm throwing in for the show are going to be for Aaron Brewer. I'm calling that race. I think it's over. Aaron Brewer wins it. And I am also throwing this one out. Kern, done. It's over. Only because I don't want to fall for a guy that could get me in trouble later on in this season. I want the veteran that I know I can count on. I don't want to go into every game worried about my punter. And that's not fair for me to say. Maybe I'll in Atlanta, or not Atlanta, at Baltimore when he kicks it out of the stadium, maybe I'll have a different point. But I don't want to deal with a rookie punter this year. Does that make sense? I just don't want to deal with that. So let's get to some of your comments and let's call it a show. This is the Titans Ravens preview. Again, we didn't do a whole lot of previewing, but we did break down the depth chart, which is kind of important. We did the towel thing. Do want to give you a couple facts I do have on the Ravens. Number one, last year they had the third worst starting field position in the entire football league, 26.7 yard line. Made it really challenging for their offense. Ravens pass rush was brutal last year. I think we all know that. 22nd in sacks and 24th in rushes, like rushing the quarterback. Or pressures, I should say, not rushes, pressures. And then the ultimate question is, what the heck's Lamar Jackson doing? Like, he's not even negotiating at this point. That's what they're saying. He doesn't really have an agent. I think his mom's his agent, which is fine. But, like, why is he not in negotiations right now? Like, does he think he's going to get paid more than Deshaun Watson? Is he, like, legitimately not sure he wants to stay in Baltimore? We know he might have been upset because Marquise Brown got traded out of there, Hollywood Brown, to Arizona. So we don't really know that whole situation. But I got to tell you, it's crazy. What if Lamar, would you want him in Tennessee? What if in the next couple of years? No, I'm not even going to go down that road. But you would think the Ravens should lock him up. Now, he hasn't won a playoff game or whatever. He's won one playoff game. He beat us. But still, he has not taken the Ravens to that next level like people think he should. But he's still a darn good quarterback. So, Steve says, no Lamar. Oh, no. More Tannehill. I'm kidding, Steve. It's all in good fun. One of Steele says, Hooper Hooper will pick the slack for a thin wide receiver. The tight ends. Now, I haven't heard a ton more from Okonkwo as much as we heard in the offseason, but since training camp, I haven't heard a ton. But I can tell you, Hooper and Tannehill are going to have a connection, and you're going to want to pick him on your fantasy team. You're going to want to pick him. Just telling you up front. Titan South says, I like Molden. Thomas says it's Molden's job until he loses it. Molden was legit last year. With the injury, though, and Mccreary doing so well at camp, I'm going to go ahead and agree with Thomas on. I mean, I agree. Molden did really well. I'm not just going to throw him to the wayside. And I didn't throw the towel into that one. So I just saying that. I'm actually I'm intrigued, but we got to get Molden back. And I don't even know what's wrong with him. You'll never really hear much coming out of camp. Oiler tight. Whoever wins left guard is going to be against the best defensive tackle in NFL during practice, Jeffrey Simmons. So Sunday should be a cakewalk. Good point. Actually, a really good point. He's getting a lot of experience against Jeffrey Simmons. What else we got? Titan South Kelly will have Tannehill throwing deep down the field more. Maybe we'll bring back Khalif Raymond. Just kidding. He's doing actually really well with the Lions. Joe H. and J. Rob we trust. I agree with that one. MB says Farley's a rookie just like Mccreary. Actually, MB with some great comments. That's true. I mean, we haven't really seen Farley out there that much. BB15, shout out to you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Good night to you. Power Hour Jackson should get more money than Murray. I agree with that one. And then MB says, upload, don't forget, they love to blitz Molden from the nickel. Cornerback spot, too. And you're right. And that's not one of Mccreary's strong suits, just because they haven't really did it much with him. Thomas says we are going to be very heavy tight end this year. And that's why the receiver thing makes sense for some of you to say, well, we'll only probably keep 5. If you're going to keep 3 quarterbacks, you're going to go really heavy on the tight end front. Remember, Hudson's hurt right now, or I think he's still on PUP. But Hudson, I think, is a very solid tight end. And he was showing some promise. The Briley Moore from K-State was showing promise last year. Now, I don't know much about him this year. But those guys are fighting for the 4th spot. Would it be crazy to think they might keep 5 tight ends? Maybe. But if you're going to be two tight end sets all the time, that slot receiver, they're going to have to find ways to be creative with getting Phillips out there. You know, one of the worst things is to have a great slot receiver, but he never gets to play. And that partly I blame on Todd Downey. Now, I agree with the 2 tight end set, but I'm talking about when it counts the most, the 3rd and 3, and you got to move the chains in a playoff game against the Cincinnati Bengals, but you got no slot receiver, so you're running back out with your 2 tight ends. I'm just telling you, when you look at these other teams that have slot guys, that's where they come into play. It's not throwing slot guys down the field. Beasley throwing him fly routes down the field. Beasley's good when he's shake and bake off the line of scrimmage and can pick up 5 yards and move the chains. That's what we want our slot guy to do. That's what I want Phillips to do. That's why I'm excited to see what he's doing at camp. But if they don't actually give him an opportunity to be out there and with the role and build that chemistry with Tannehill, then it's kind of like a point where we shouldn't really get too high or too low on, because at the end of the day, if they're just going to trot out 2 tight ends and do a variety with them, then the slot guy becomes really irrelevant. I've met a lot of great people, and I am very pumped about the Titan Upload Network. Titans Rossi, shout out to him. He's been there through and through, and he does his own incredible work, and I just want to give him a shout out because he deserves it. And if you're not subscribed to Rossi, I don't know what you're doing. And then James. I mean, James, we've had him on the channel once, but he's been on Rossi's channel. I mean, it's just been, a nice thing to see, the nice collaboration between those 2 guys, a great chemistry. We're honored to have James a part of this network, and James has big plans for this network as well. So that's going to obviously happen this season. And James is our insider, man. James knows some people now. And I don't want to say his contacts, but he's got some contacts within the Titans. Unfortunately, a lot of times we can't share a lot of that stuff. Rossi was able to share a couple of his contacts last season, especially with some certain things that actually happened and came true. So you do get some inside information from this channel, believe it or not, even though we don't have the perks as some of the main media people do, but we consider ourselves media. But why am I bringing that all up? There will be a special announcement this week. There will be 2 more members joining the Titan Upload Network, and they both bring so much, and we're so honored for them to be a part of this thing. So I will debut them one by one. And then I'll kind of give you what their role is going to be within the network. But all I can tell you is there's going to be a lot of collaboration. Now, we have a partnership, a friendship, so to speak, with Titan Anderson Sports. And TA, I'm going to leave it to him to tell you what his plans are for his channel. But you would think that me and TA would kind of go at it with watch parties and stuff, but actually we've built kind of a nice connection, helping each other out and those kind of things, that we're both having a lot of success with you guys on watch parties, talking to you guys about the game and having it where we just kind of hang out. We're going to try to find a way this year, TA and myself, to kind of get involved in each other's feeds every now and then too, and see what he's seeing on his end and vice versa. So I'm pumped about that. But that's what I got. So I appreciate it. This week for the members, for the 145 section club, so to speak, thank you again for you guys supporting this channel. We will have a members only video that will break sometime in the next 48 hours. And then after the 24 hours up, it will post for everyone to see. But again, I'm out. You guys are awesome. Thanks again for taking time to watch this show. And like I said, keep an eye out on who these 2 new members will be to join the team. I'm excited, and I can't wait for you guys to find out as well. Take care. Tighten up. See you soon. Well, I guess that's not going to work either. Ecamm, you are disappointing. You are so disappointing. I can't even show you my little video. We'll have to play an old one.